Hello, and welcome to the Print Prop Shop. Welcome to the Print Prop Shop. I'm Michael. So I hope you like that opening entrance there, or the opening with all the 3D environment. I do apologize for my absence here for a couple weeks, but I wanted to go learn something new, and I started learning with Blender to try to get the model of LOLA that you saw on the workbench there. I got that from PropVault on 3D Colts, and he has his design as well, but he had a 3D model in Blender. So I needed to learn Blender to turn that into an actual model that I could use. So I learned Blender. Then I thought bigger and wanted to have something like that opening that I showed you just now. So I went off and learned Unreal Engine. So there was a lot of things that I just wanted to learn, so I took a step back and focused on that a little bit more. And once again, that model of LOLA was by PropVault. You can find PropVault on Thingiverse, Instagram, and Facebook. And just awesome designs. Now, I didn't build his specific design. This one, I went with Mystery Makers for LOLA, which you see right here. Now, not to say anyone was better, I actually found, I pay for Mystery Makers designs, and I had gotten the design, started building it, and then I decided I wanted to grow a little bit more with my special effects and things like that. And just so happened that I found the actual object design from him on Cults 3D. So it's not to say his design is better or worse than Mystery Makers. It was just I had that design first, and his print is actually really well done as well. So this is a Mystery Makers. I'm going to jump into that right now. As you can see, came out fabulous. You'll see that how much work Marco put into this one, as well as he does all of his work. I didn't choose to do all of the bells and whistles. Like, you can make the wings flap up and down. It has gears and things like that. I didn't do that. I just went kind of basic, and I just wanted the eyes to light up. So I went and hit a little switch in the back here just so I could light up the eyes. And I did have to go and put the 9-volt battery outside just because I didn't want to dig through so much material to make it fit on the inside. It was just barely not fitting in there. Probably could have sanded down a little bit more, but I was afraid I'd kind of break through or ruin the integrity of the shells. So, but I think if I'm sitting it on my my shelf up here, who cares if there's a 9-volt battery sitting outside of it? But without further ado, here's how I did it. So I can't not show Marco's artwork. I just love the artwork. From the detail to the actual casting of like shadows and reflections and things like that is just incredible. He's also provided schematics for your lighting with this design. If you're going to do all out with all the bells and whistles with the lighting, this would be the way that you could do it. He's also provided detailed instructions on assembly and things like that. You get a huge bang for your buck for subscribing to Marco's Patreon. That's what I can tell you right there. Now, I did go and print the lenses in clear resin. They didn't come out perfect, and I did have a couple failures, but it's just because printing a curved surface is a little tough sometimes. Especially with clear resin. I don't know why with clear resin, but I always usually have problems with it. My best prints were kind of cocked to their side and printed out the best. And then I did the little wings as well out of resin. Any kind of small parts, the eye or anything like that, I did out of resin as well, just for the detail. Same with the antenna. the gearboxes in back, things like that. The other parts I did all out of FDM. I also did the legs and the leg assembly out of resin. They just had much better detail. Now I am focusing here on how I actually printed it. These are fairly small, so I did print them very fine. I printed them at 0.1 millimeter, as you can see right here. It took much longer. It was about a day, I believe, to print out these 3 pieces, but the detail was really what I was looking for. After I got those printed up, I began just cleaning it up. I started using a brim not too long ago, if you noticed, and it leaves a little bit of extra plastic on the edges, but the prints stick so much better, and the prints just come out a whole lot better as well. And I just took my little Dremel tool, cleaned up the edges, cleaned up anything that might have been just bleeding over a little bit. Same with the support structure in the middle. Now the lights I went with, I got this little kit off of Amazon a long time ago. It's 600 pieces, a bunch of different colored lights, and I did have the blue in there. They're made specifically to run off of 9-volt batteries. I want to say this kit was maybe about $15. They come with resistors, and it's just perfect to run off of a 9-volt battery. The little switches I got off of Amazon too, I want to say I got like 12 or 15 switches for maybe $4 on Amazon. It's really all cheap. Same with the wire. I got a whole roll of wire for little or nothing. I think it was $2. It's a small gauge wire, and this kit comes with a jumper board as well. I just don't usually use it too often. I use just the wire, tie it up, and get my circuit going that way. And as you can see, it's working just fine. The resistors are there so you don't blow out the lights, and they will blow out, especially if you use them, put them backwards or put too much voltage to them. And then I just went through with a soldering job, got it best as I could up until the switch. The switch and the actual battery pack I left for last for the assembly. You'll see here in a couple minutes. I did start off with a pretty good base coat of black, and the shell I did all in black because it's actually the bottom. It has a couple of different variations, and I used the piece that was more for automating the wings. But the reason I did was just because it had a little bit different style that I could use for the lighting and things like that for my wires. If you download this model, if you get it from his Patreon, you'll see what I'm talking about. I did do the hinges in black, and then I went back over the actual top of the shell. This fits over that other piece that I just painted. And I started with a red base coat on that first. I wanted to get that down, and I went over it, all over it. It was these little paint kits for my airbrush that I have, acrylics, and just really started going over it. The one thing I did do is I went up to the actual line where the white would be starting, and after that I just did it really light with the red. I didn't go, if you looked at it in the light, you would notice that it was just a little bit less than it was where there would actually be red. And after that I went into my white. Now I did freehand the white going up to there. I just used a very, very small brush head, and I used it on the smallest setting to get my outline first. And then I just gradually went up to that outline. The white does take a couple different coats. Now I did end up using a different white on this than my other airbrush kit. I used US Art Supply, their white, and it's an opaque white, pretty standard. You can get the US Art Supply kit that comes with it. I want to say it's like 15 different colors for $25, and they're huge bottles really for US Art Supply. Now here I ran the first light into the big eyeball there, and then I did have to drill out a little bit for the secondary eyeball so that LED would fit in there. But after that, everything went together just fine. I went and actually used my Gorilla Glue, my gel, and assembled everything. And like I said, I did leave that switch in the battery pack for very last. I went ahead and soldered those very last thing so that I knew I was gonna have to go and put the 9-volt out of the back, and I did go and cut a little slot in the bottom shell for that switch so it would fit at the bottom and be a little bit less noticeable. I think at this point, since I was leaving the battery pack out, I could have just went and left the switch out. It wouldn't have made too big a difference. I was already leaving the battery pack out. It's not like I was hiding anything. But nonetheless, I went and put a little slot in the bottom shell for that switch. It does give it a little bit of detail that someone wouldn't notice. But I then went into weathering, and I had my Tamiya weathering kits out. And honestly, I first thing I did was a black wash that I've shown before. Just really washed down black paint. And from there, I just went into my weathering kits. And again, too, if you're looking for weathering kits, these Tamiya weathering kits are really awesome, and you get a lot for the $30. You get all that whole stack of kits that I have right there for $30 on Amazon, and it'll last you a really long time. I started with some silver just to kind of show some paint scrapes, and then moved into some soot, and even threw some sand on there, and then just to dirty it up a little bit, make it look like it would have been played with and used, and that's about it. So guys, that's how I did it. Once again, apologies for the long gap between videos, but when you want to expand your horizons and start learning a lot more, then you'll find you want to dive into other things. And honestly, it started with Apple Motion, really started deep diving into that, and then I moved into Blender, and from there it snowballed into Unreal Engine. So a lot of help from YouTube. I hope this video I made helped you out a little bit, or it just gave you some enjoyment. Again, if you're going to make a movie, you know, that was the whole thing that I kind of based this channel on, for props and things like that. But I actually started finding in Unreal Engine I could make my own films if I wanted to. And honestly, you can go out and make a film with your phone, like I've always said, or if you have some kind of cameras already or audio equipment, you can make movies for nothing. And I'll link my actual movie making YouTube, hopefully over here. If not, I'll link it down below as well. But it's under Michael James, and there was tons of those short films that I made for nothing. All it takes is great people to bind together and make something great. Even if you live in a large city, my suggestion to you is, like if you're in San Francisco or New York, if you want to film on the street, biggest key thing is just to tell someone that you're doing a student film, and you can pretty much get away with it a lot of times without paying for permits. I'm not telling you to break a law, but that's a way to kind of sidestep it. So I hope you've enjoyed this build. Hope you go and make something. Hope you go and make a movie with anything. And you have a great day. And once again, thanks for watching.